So, today, let's talk to you about why learning a skill doesn't mean you know how to run a business.
Yeah, exactly, because almost everybody enters business through having a skill in the first place.
Yes, and that is sometimes the mistake. Now, we're going to sort of go back with what we're talking to you about today, 45 years, where I began as a small business owner way before I met Carolynne. And as you know, we obviously run the leather repair company that is now in 30 odd countries around the world. And we've been going for like 40 odd years in the leather industry. But it all began sort of 45 years ago for me as a wee little nipper. Not that I'm much bigger than a wee nipper now. But I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when starting a business is thinking that learning a skill automatically teaches you how to run a company. But the thing is, it doesn't. And this is some of the mistakes that people make. And we know this because we've made those mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody really teaches you how to build a business. You can be taught how to do the job, have the skill. You can go to the training courses. You can learn the actual craft. You can learn the business that you want to be. But there's a massive difference between doing the job and running the business. Huge difference.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna look at a few of those.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like we thought. It's hard work alone was going to make you a very successful business, and frankly, it isn't hard work alone that's gonna do that, is it?
That just makes hard work. It's hard work. It's tough. It's taxing on you mentally. It's the long hours. It's the early mornings. It's the late nights, and it just doesn't stop. You're trudging through the trenches, as they say.
Yeah, but more than that, because you're not even really trudging through the trenches. You're almost dragging yourself through them, trying to fight survival. And the thing is, this sort of comes down to some sort of core fundamental things, and it's like structure, sort out structure. And it's like, what is the point of having a skill if you don't know how to actually run the business in the first place? Yeah. And I mean, just look at from where we began to what we know now, from where it all began, with what we were doing. And it's just, we were to the point where I was almost single-handedly living a completely separate life from Carolynne at the factory on a cold concrete floor. And this isn't a fabrication, guys. This is actually reality. I was living at the factory on a cold concrete floor because we couldn't afford carpet in the first sections. We had no office in the first factory. It literally was, we just had like a couple of bookshelves as a dividing thing for our office, and that is just reality. That's how it all began. But
I think back then we thought then we were doing the right thing. We were working hard. We was bringing up 2 young children as well at the same time, and we thought we were creating the empire. But really, when we look back, we didn't have any structure at all. It was just
nothing.
Work. Grab every job that comes through the door. You've got to just keep working, get up early, go to bed late, work till you're literally crying. Yeah, literally. Exhausted.
Complete exhaustion.
Undercharging, overworking, and if we were to look back now, it would be very, more structured.
Yeah, you're going to do things very. If we knew then what we know now, it would have made such a huge difference to the success of where we are now. And we're very grateful for the success that we've got today, but I can assure you we would be far better forward if we'd have actually thought about running the business properly in the first place, rather than trying to learn the skill set and then trying to sort of fumble our way through how to run the business. Because what we didn't envisage was, we knew it was going to be big, but we didn't quite envisage the huge impact that it had on us from the beginning of how big it was going to be going forward. And that's what really had the major toll, wasn't it? Because what we then didn't do in those early days was obviously the typical sort of thing with running a company. No money. We didn't even have money for fuel for the van. So we couldn't even get to damn jobs, you know? That was the reality,
Luckily,
right?
we lived quite nearby where the factory was at the time, so you had a bicycle, you used to bike or walk.
Yeah, pouring rain,
or
snow,
shine.
rain, no matter what. But getting, obviously, to the factory was fine, but then sometimes we had to actually cancel jobs because we didn't have money to go out and do those jobs. And that is the reality of it, because we learned the skill and we didn't learn how to run the damn business, and that was the biggest problem, wasn't it?
The budgeting, I think, was a big thing personally for us. I think it was just getting everything in the right place to do the right things at the right time.
The right time,
so, yeah, it's
and it's very, very difficult, and you can probably hear me ruffling around papers and things, and it's just you got to try to. We're trying to run a million things at the same time, and it's not easy. But the thing is, trying to understand how the business works in the first place, I think, is going to be a much better approach than trying to understand the skill to begin with, because you start investing in the wrong things. And what we didn't understand from day one was things like, we went around buying stupid things, didn't we? Because we thought, let's grow. We've got this momentum building. We went around sewing machines, aerosol filling can machines and stuff like that. And we thought,
we wanted something for everything.
Yeah, because we were making the money at the beginning.
Structure.
And the thing is, we thought, let's do this, let's do that. This is good, this is that. We were listening to people, and we were, which is great to listen to your customers. But we were listening to the wrong people as well, and what information we were listening to, we didn't have a system to analyse it, to say, yeah, this is good, this is bad, and we were just diving in at the deep end. We bought a sewing machine, right? And what we should have been looking at, rather than buying that sewing machine, we should have been looking at things like profit, tax, and all that. That's where the money should have been going.
Could we actually afford to buy a sewing
buy
machine?
It? And the simple answer was, no, we couldn't.
Probably not.
Now, that same sewing machine that we bought nearly 27 to 30 years ago, it might have been just before the girls were born, it might have been just after the girls were born, we still have that same sewing machine. And during that period of time, it has probably had in our business, because again, we listened to the wrong people and we didn't analyse the data and use it correctly and get it sorted properly and look into it correctly. And again, we were trying to think of the skill, and that's all we were thinking of, and not the data, the running of the company. Is it beneficial to us? Is it financially viable? Is it going to earn us any money? And it was very, very limited what it could do. And it's probably only had, I would say, in all those years, 3 months solid use. Yeah?
Probably an antique now.
It's an antique. It was a very expensive thing at the time.
Which was wrong.
Thousands of pounds, which we couldn't afford.
Yeah.
But that was what we did, and we should never have done that, because what we should have been investing our money into is things like, making sure we had the profit. We should have been putting money aside for tax. We should have put money aside for marketing, customer acquisitions. And what we mean by that is, it's basically buying customers through PPC and stuff like that, data, analytical data, collecting data and remarketing to clients and things, and we didn't do that.
I think it's the fact of working out, yes, you do have some big expenses and you can buy these big expenses, but you've got to work out the return on investment, haven't you? So it's got to be substantially worth paying out however much, thousands, hundreds, even £50, is it going to earn you the money
the
back
return,
that's worth that outlay at the time? And if it is going to sit there like the sewing machine did for us, the aerosol machine, I don't even remember.
Oh God, I remember that.
I don't remember having that even.
One of my brain waves, I looked at things.
I mean, we did, because I've seen photos. We've got photos of it.
We've got photos of the machine and the cans and things. And what it was one of my wild brainwave ideas that I'd listened to people and I hadn't really researched it. I just suddenly thought, yeah, this is a great idea. simplicity with what we're doing, even though we've tried to make it as simple a system as possible. It's like 1, 2, 3 and the job's done. Prep it, colour it, seal it, job is done. That was our motto. 1, 2, 3, tick. Bang, it's done. And we thought, this is going to really, cut down on a lot of hassle for people. But oh my God, hassle, them, easy, us, difficult. Jesus, trying to get the right chemicals to work with the aerosol, because I wanted them to be a waterborne system and not a solvent. So it had to be as eco-friendly as possible with a waterborne system. That doesn't really work
with aerosols.
No, we nearly cracked it. We got there, but it was just the time that it took to produce it was ending up costing us more money than just supplying them a pot of paint in a 500ml swipe in the first place. Yeah. So
I think we were 10 steps ahead of
ourselves.
Time.
Ourselves.
So
and
all the middle sections had not been finalised, completed, looked at properly, studied.
And again, we weren't running the business. We were just trying to think of and we were trying to think of of the actual.
That'd be great.
This would be great. This would be great. Simple. Quickly spraying. It just backlogged, and again, it cost us financially, because what we didn't have was, like we said right at the beginning, we didn't have that structure in place to enable us to do this properly. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem.
Systems and structures is something we talk about all the time.
Systems, structures and processes. And we still talk about that today with our marketing team. We have like a marketing team. We have guys that deal with all things like another team that sort of deal with all things like the press releases and stuff like that. Then we have what we call our sort of data acquisition team, which is like the guys that run all the PPC. We have our meta team. And then obviously in-house, there's 3 of us here in-house that deal with all the day-to-day running of the business. And now things are very, very different. Mm-hmm. We sit down and have a meeting about everything, even booking shows. We sit and it's a collective joint meeting, not just between the 3 here in the business, but between the marketing guys, the social media guys, and all the PPC. Because the thing is, when we're going to a show, we're going to be taking money from a pot from somewhere that's allocated, and we've got to make sure that it's going in the right direction. And
it's everything working from the same sheet, isn't it? It's everybody being on the same page, everybody doing the similar things at a similar time, just so that it all unites together, let's say. So you can be the best technician in the world.
You can be.
If you don't know what you're doing with the actual business side of it,
then you're the worst one.
Then it very, will fail. You can be the best. Obviously, you've got to be good at what you do as well. But putting that into practice and running your business as a businessman, whether you're a one-man band or a big company.
I'm going to disagree, because the thing is, you don't need to be a good businessman unless you're going to be a one-man band, a good person with the skill set. Now, the thing is, you could be a very good business person, but you could employ somebody for the skill set. To actually do the skill. So in our scenario, we could have been great business people, and we could have employed somebody to actually do, go out on the road, do all the leather repairs and stuff like that, and do it that way, and not actually touch the actual repair process, know how it works and how it does actually work, but not actually perfected our skill to the point where we were doing it. Mm-hmm. That's what we tried to do. So we tried to become, multiple heads within the business.
Yeah.
And again, we try to do too many things, and this is where it becomes quite a jumbled
I think you've got to be not afraid to admit that you can't do something, or you're not very good at that certain aspect of something. And if you can afford to work on trying to afford to get somebody that's specialist in that field to do that, like we do now. So there's someone handling the advertising, there's somebody handling, doing, back in the day I was doing all the accounts in ledgers. But now obviously it's so much easier now. There's lots of applications to help you, and accountants to help you. So
obviously we had accountants back then. I mean, in the old days, my God, I mean, it was like everything was handwritten, obviously,
like
big, purchase and sales ledgers, and it's, whereas now we can just take a photograph of something or do a PDF, and it all syncs into the account systems. It's so much easier because we've got a process, we've got a system, and then we've got analytical data that we research and look at to see customers. We know what our customer acquisition costs are. We know what our average customer spends are. All these things we had no damned idea in our early days.
If someone would have asked back then, we'd be like,
no idea. We wouldn't have a clue, guys. And this is the problem with it. So I think with it, to try to, that sort of talent alone isn't going to guarantee that the success. And there's a sort of couple of scenarios that we could give you here of where just having the talent, and the thing is also having the business idea but also lacking the talent. There's that side of it as well. And I'm going to give you a little story here of one where the business idea was phenomenal but the talent was lacking completely, which wiped out that business, and everything had to sort of close down.
It's the all the gear, no idea type of
it
people.
Basically was, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, that's how most people start a business. They have all the gear, but they have no idea.
Yeah, so you've got all the stuff to do it. You've got all the machines. You've got all your signs. You've got the big fancy shops.
Oh yeah,
you've got you're in the best places. You're in the high street. You're in the fancy shopping centres, and you're where everybody is going to see you.
And the thing is, with all those fancy shopping centres, shops on the high street, it doesn't matter where they are, whether they're in Hull or whether they're in Manchester, London, it doesn't matter where it is, Knightsbridge, anywhere. It could be any type of shop on any type of high street. The thing is, if you don't have the skill set to go into those shops, it's going to collapse and they're going to have to close. And that is something that I have seen with, some industries where they've had a whole row of shops, and they've had them in strategic positions around the UK in very high profile high street store locations, in some cases in some very famous locations in London. And it just hasn't worked, because the thing is, they've tried to take something from a mail order operative into a retail store operative, and that transition wasn't successful. And it just drained money to the point where they all had to be shut, and then just one single concession's left. And that is just a classic example again of all the gear, wanting the presents, no idea, spending all the money, and again not going through the process of getting it to work. It's
not working out the middle structure as well.
Yes, exactly.
There was a successful bottom ground.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was doing well. They had a following. Everything else. And then it was just too much, too soon, too quickly, I think. And it grew. But then
it was just having
there
the
was
staff there to
no
support
stabilisation in the middle. So as soon as anything started to go wrong, the whole thing, like a house of cards, just tumbled. So it's big.
It's
just making
complaints
sure.
rose.
It's like building the stone towers.
Yeah.
Every single one of those sections need to be stable before you can put the next one on top. And then you get to the top, you get the little cherry-sized one, and you've cracked it.
You've cracked it, but
every little layer, it's a good way of thinking of it. That every little layer of it has to be stable on the one below.
And the thing is, that comes from, like we're going to say, systems and processes. You've got to have that systems and processes in place.
Structure,
process. Now, the other side of it as well, you get a company that, again, we've seen this as well. You get a company that gets a great deal of exposure in an industry that is worth probably millions and millions of pounds, the exposure, from TV, everything, radio, newspapers, national magazines, national, newspapers, national TV. But the owners are very reluctant to give care advice at the beginning, and come across as maybe quite an arrogant individual.
The customer care didn't exist.
No, this was the problem with it.
And the business-to-business care didn't exist.
No, and every time somebody wanted to buy a particular product, it was like, I want to know how it works. Can you tell me whether this is right? Buy it, and then I'm going to tell you. And people were like, well, no, I want to know now, because I don't know whether I'm buying the right thing. We'll buy it, and I'll tell you, and if it isn't, we'll refund you, and we'll send you the next product that is right. It's like, no, come on, we really need this. They were very reluctant to try to give advice, because what they thought, all the competitors were going to go out there and steal all their advice. Well, that's a very dangerous position to be in, to think that way. So, they've got two different scenarios there of a very successful business that, was successful at the beginning, tried to do something in the middle, and had to then literally close everything to transition back to that successful business again by backpedaling. But that just cost millions of pounds. Then you've got the other business, which is basically a great business that had all this publicity and absolutely blew it with shocking customer care because they were frightened every competitor was going to steal all their ideas. So,
So the common thing there is the wobbly middle, isn't it?
Yes, again, you've got the wobbly middle.
To put it in really plain terms, it's like a jammy dodger. You've got a nice biscuit bottom, you've got some wobbly jam in the middle that's not quite set right, and you're trying to put another biscuit on top. My analogies are a little bit strange.
Well, it's reality though, isn't it?
But at the end of the day. It is those wobbly middles. And these days, I think social media has a lot to answer for.
Oh yes, definitely.
People. You can look at someone, take the one-man band down the road, the 5-star holidays in Mauritius or wherever your dream holiday is. But if you saw the inside of that, if you saw the reality of that, that's a little bit of a grump of social media. You see what you want to believe sometimes.
Or you're shown what they want you to believe as well, I think, more than anything, rather than the actual reality. And this is the problem with it. So social media sort of came along and it showed that there was this way to, quick money, instant success, easy lifestyle, fantastic lifestyle. I'm living the life of Riley.
Like.
I've got the lovely husband on my arm. I've got the lovely wife on my arm. We've got all the designer gear, no idea, all that sort of process. We've got all the fancy cars, and really behind the scenes, the whole damn structure is falling apart because they're up to here in debt, trying to live the lifestyle of somebody that has actually got money behind them to do that. So again, it's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Is you need to focus on you. And I think the early days of social media is one of the things I've got to admit we got absolutely terribly wrong, because we were very proud of our business, but what that did was obviously social media brought along a lot of haters, and
we were very, very defensive.
We were very defensive in what we were saying to people, because people were like mocking and knocking, and we were just sort of like talking to them like we would be talking to you now. It's like, don't be a fool. That's absolutely crazy saying something like that. We know it's not that. That's just absolutely ridiculous. How the hell can you come out with that? But you take it to heart,
don't you? You've got to learn not to. But back then, it was really, it was like
the beginning of the internet.
It was a big stab in the back, and you've spent all these years trudging through the trenches. Like I said, all this hard work, sleepless nights, the
factory
the
floor,
torturous hours, the
depression,
everything, and then someone comes along and has the audacity to say something
that you're crap
on social media that everybody can see. Everybody can see. Everybody knows how to screenshot something, even back then. And
the thing is, it's we I'm responding, and it's not done our reputation over the years any good with that, and I'm not scared to admit that, and we're obviously totally different today, and obviously you're sort of rebuilding everything from the ground up basically, in effect. But I mean, we would maybe be sort of defending ourselves, because that's exactly what any natural human being would do. But we didn't understand the power of social media. We didn't understand the implications of that, and I would be just like, no, you're talking shit. I'd say it like that. But the people were like, you can't say that, you're a business. Well, why can't I? I'm still a human behind the business at the end of the day. But the trouble is, I wasn't talking to a man or a woman like I am, pointing at the
directly,
camera, like I am now talking to Carolynne. I wasn't talking directly to a person, whereas they can understand what I mean by like, oh, you're talking shit. But
it's got the tone.
Do you know what I mean? It's got the tone with it. Whereas when you're saying it like that in writing on social media, all of a sudden it's like, nah, this is really seriously bad, that this company could be talking to someone like that rather than sugarcoating it. Because I'm not a sugarcoating type of person either. People don't like that. So I get a lot of like envious people because I don't sugarcoat stuff. My name isn't Willy Wonka. I don't sugarcoat shit, as I say. So it's that sort of gets a lot of people's backs up. So I got a lot of critiques out there because of that. But I'm not frightened to admit that. That is just the reality of it. And the thing is, we learn.
I think it's learning how to respond to things like that, or if you respond in the first place.
Well, the thing
to
is,
things like that.
What we didn't grasp was, I'm not talking to one-on-one like we are here. The thing is, when you were saying that on social media, it was going out to like millions.
There was lots. Although you were aiming it at
the one individual,
certain people, there was lots and lots of others, potential customers even.
Yeah, exactly, that you were alienating, really.
And people that were your friends that were thinking... Ugh.
That we thought were friends, yeah. That, it's like, is that how they're talking to people? Is that how they're treating people? But the thing is,
then people tend to start to give you a bit of a wide berth, and you're thinking, well,
why?
I was only defending my position. I was, I've fought nail and tooth for this
business, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that you've got. So you've got to be very careful what you're doing. And the reason why we're telling you this is because we're telling you from the heart of what we went through. And I know you will be doing exactly the same. Because that's how it is, guys. And it's just...
Well, back to foundations, aren't we?
You're back to the foundations.
It's that very first layer. And if you get that right...
And the thing is, if we'd have had
without the wobbly middle.
Yeah, if we'd have had a system in place and a process and a foundation about structure of exactly what we could have been saying, it would have been a totally different story again. So again, we get back to that, the jammy dodger scenario with the wobbly jelly, wobbly jelly,
the wobbly
middle.
jelly that's not set yet.
It's jam, isn't it? So yeah, wobbly jam middle, and that's the situation that you're back to again, because no structure, no process, no systems, and we just literally from the heart and thought we were doing the right thing, and clearly getting it wrong.
We just thought if we worked hard, it would get there. I mean, yes, it's got there in the end, so we are lucky, but it could have crumbled many times.
It's still not perfect. We're learning every single day, and this is the thing with what we do. We learn every single day.
'Cause everything's changing every day, isn't it? So you've got to learn to move with
the times and stuff,
with whatever's going on.
With it, the one thing that I say is nobody really talks about the foundations or anything like that. How do I get... Everybody wants to know, how do I get...
That's the hard part.
Yeah, they want to know, how do I get a customer? What machine should I buy? What product should I buy? That is totally wrong concept. What you need to understand is... Step back. Have a process, have a system, have a structure. Pricing. You want to know things about like that. Savings. Now that's a very good one. Rainy day funds. Another very good one. Things like systems in place. Professionalism. We've just discussed that, haven't we? The way maybe we were defending our position. Customer experience. Let the customer experience a wonderful experience, and not maybe the arrogant little bold man on the internet.
Yeah, let the customers build it for you.
Let the customers build that reputation for you. And I think here, the real story here from our side, we're now going through a place where we need to buy a factory. Now, the thing with that, what we didn't realise all those damn years ago, and if we had done, we'd have been able to just go and buy it like that now with a click of a finger. What we didn't realise at the time was the problem that we've actually brought on ourselves because we didn't actually have a proper structure and system in place. So about 15 years ago, we started putting money on the side for a rainy day fund, which we've dipped into as and when we've needed it. What we didn't envisage... which we obviously know now, and we have known for maybe 10 or 15 years, but you still need to build it, and it's impossible to build it when you're trying to build it, was we needed to build the fund to buy a property. Now, you may think, well, that's quite simple, right? It's like buying a house. Absolutely not. 25% minimum deposit that you need on the purchase price. So if you've got something that's 300,000, there's 75,000 alone. On top of the 300,000, you've got an extra 20% VAT. That's another 60,000 you've got to find.
The dreaded VAT.
Then you've got all the stamp duty, another few thousand on top. Then you've got all the lawyer fees, probably another 15 to 20,000 on top. Buying a £300,000 property requires probably a good investment
lots more than that.
of probably around 150 to 200,000 pounds.
On top of
rainy
the
day
actual
fund,
price.
on top of the actual 300,000 that you're purchasing for.
Yeah, you've got to, save for a thunderstorm, not just a rainy day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the key to this is yes, we have a rainy day fund and we have what we call a hit the shit fan fund, but what we've never really built is that big deposit fund for the property.
It needed to be much larger scale than we had in our
than we
head.
had envisaged. But again, if we'd have had a structure in place, if we'd have had a system in place, if we'd have had a process in place, and we'd have adapted this sort of structure and system and process, we would have been able to just say now, there's the 200,000. Do you know what I mean? So because you've put the money.
Yeah.
But again, how many of you have pensions? How many of you have a savings plan? How many of you know exactly where you're going to be? So that is our facts, our true story.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're going to be doing these more often.
The moral of it is just like discover, ask advice from other businesses, ask advice from bigger businesses, research lots, listen to
have
things
a system, have
like
a structure.
this that's real life, scenarios.
Real life situations, because that's exactly what it is.
What we've seen, where we went wrong, what we could have done better. There's lots and lots of things. People, don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be scared to ask business people that you think is not in your league.
Yep.
They've all been there.
Yeah.
None of them are going to say, nah, I'm not helping you. No, they will.
Everybody's
been there.
You'll
be surprised who will.
And the thing is, I think the key to it is, don't think having a skill is going to be what you need to run the business, because it isn't.
Much, much more.
You need to have processes, systems and structures in place to enable you to run that business more efficiently, more profitably, because one of the things we're going to be talking about in one of our next videos is pricing anyway, and we're going to go through that. But I'm hoping this resonates with somebody and you can learn something from it, and it's been a benefit to you. And we're going to be bringing you more of these, because I think it's very important that people understand, not just looking at a glorified script that we're looking at. We're talking, yes, we've got some notes and things where we've written things down that we've remembered over the years so that we can explain upon those. We might have just put factory floor on a piece of paper or something, but so that we can tell you about that. But it's the reality. We're giving you reality, guys. So there you go. Anyway, we hope you've liked it. That is, one of our videos from the R&C Leather Lounge, and we're going to be bringing you another one soon. I say R&C Leather Lounge. I'm now talking about our leather business, the R&C Growth Lab, and we're going to be bringing you another one soon. And that one's going to be about pricing. So we're used to doing these for the R&C Leather Lounge as well. So for our leather technicians. But anyway, this is our business one. We hope you're going to enjoy it. And there you go. Like we say, reality. We even make mistakes on live videos. So we're going to see you next time.
Goodbye.
See you later. Bye bye.